One of the things that a lot of young quarterbacks tend to struggle with, and I know that when I was playing quarterback a long time ago, I struggled with this, and I've seen Trey struggle with it a little bit when I watch him on film, at North Dakota State and things like that. Is being able to see past linebackers or underneath defenders to receivers that might be open behind them. Um, what are some of the things that you guys do, or do you get into working with your quarterbacks when you're working? With I guess maybe it'd be called field vision, or I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly how you explain it.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly different strategies. There's another thing where, like, you know, in our role, we don't overcoach that too much with the guys who are in the NFL because I know that, Kyle and Rich have a way that they want him to process open space, to see the field, and to make, the decisions and the reads and the progressions that they have built into their offense. And so it's one of those areas where you really want to be careful that you're not stepping on anybody's toes and coaching it slightly differently. As a general question, yeah, certainly, there's kind of processes that we teach in order to see open space on the field, and to, make decisions faster, right? We talk about accelerated decision making. So to your point, Jack, being able to see that, hey, this route is going to break into open space over top the first level instead of having to wait until it breaks open to then make that decision, right? So there's certainly strategies for that. One of the simplest ones that we kind of teach at a base level, and really our high school, college guys, we focus a lot on this, who maybe don't have as specific instruction where they're playing, is talking about breaking the field into, roughly under 10 yards, over 10 yards. We talk about, Coach Dub Maddox, who created something called the R4 system, talks about a hard deck. It's what like naval officers and Air Force guys talk about, right? We have to fly above or below the hard deck, right? So the
Right.
idea there is that, below the hard deck, we're talking about defenders that in theory can't take away vertical space. And then above the hard deck, we're talking about defenders, usually your corners and safeties that can play and take away potentially or can close on vertical space. So to your point, Jack, being able to see second level space and not allowing defenders potentially below the hard deck to interfere with your vision and seeing that, hey, he looks like he's underneath that route, but the reality is when we throw that as open space, right? I'm like kind of getting to what you were asking.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Certainly strategies like that we talk about. It's something that we talked about more in the draft prep process, and just when we're talking about being on the board, talking about how we work through concepts and progressions, just a way to see space and communicate space really well. So if you're on the board with a coach, in the draft prep process, and he's asking you, hey, if you get this look, what are you looking at or how you're reading it? We want to make sure that the quarterback has verbiage he can use to explain how he determines what's open and how he sees open space on the field.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I think the day he gets drafted by San Francisco, there's a chunk of his development that gets completely turned over to his NFL team, and that's one of the pieces in there that, however they want to, whatever process they want him to utilize, is we just want to make sure that's kind of one voice there at that point.
Yeah, because at that point, they have their own process or their own
Yeah,
their
exactly
own
right.
ways
And,
that they go
and
about it.
obviously, and you're feeling like you're in such good hands with Kyle Shanahan. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason he's so successful. There's a reason he has the reputation for preparing quarterbacks and developing quarterbacks the way he does. Right? Like I said, at the college level, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag, right? And you get some guys are really good at working with quarterbacks and helping them, and certainly others that aren't. It doesn't matter at what level, right? There's some great, top 25 programs who don't do a good job with that with their quarterback. So, when there's a need there, we're certainly happy to help. There's been very few exceptions that come to mind at the NFL level where the quarterbacks we work with, I think, have needed that.
Gotcha.